So hey guys, I've just been thinking about this for a little while, but yeah, might as well rename the game to Malice Duel because that's probably what you're going to be facing if you just queue up. It'll just be Malice. Yeah, if you love playing against Malice, do you guys enjoy perhaps the Malice mirror or the I'm not playing Malice, but my opponent is variation? I mean, both variations are pretty nice, I suppose. But yeah, here's the thing about Malice that makes it unfun to play against. Like, a lot of decks share these qualities. It's not specifically just unique to just Malice by itself, but alright. So with the Malice cards, they suck. Just straight up, they suck going second. They're mostly only great going first, okay? So if we go through the entirety of just the Malice main deck cards, right? So we just fill ourselves up to the brim here with just these cards, pretty much. And this is about how a Malice deck might be constructed. The biggest difference here, I think, is probably going to be in the amount of Chessy Cats you play, or if you play TB11 or not, which is whatever. But okay, so the best two things we could be doing right now with only the main deck cards is with Dormouse, we can go ahead and boost Chessy Cat up to 2.1k. So it's like a 2.1k beater. Yeah. And you also have a monster negate with Malice in the Mirror, where if you use Malice in the Mirror, you can special summon or trigger one of the banish effects of your Malice monsters that do nothing. All of these effects do nothing, basically, right? So Dormouse gives all of your Malice monsters plus 600 attack, and they're all small, right? So this would be 1,200. This one is 1,500. This one is 1,800, 2,100. So to say these guys are all smaller than Baron is completely true and completely accurate. And then you have Malice in the Underground, which only boosts Malice Link monsters. It does nothing with your main deck ones. It does help you get into your main deck Malice monsters a bit, but yeah, they do nothing. And then you have your Malice Traps. This allows you to add a Malice monster, which, as we've established, does nothing. So it does nothing. And because in this case we won't have a Malice Link monster, is we're going with just the main deck cards. The banish one card on the field effect, it basically doesn't exist. And then this allows you to special summon essentially a small Malice monster. If we have no extra deck here, right? That does nothing basically. And then TB11 can technically special summon a big Malice monster that does nothing, or one of the small ones that does nothing. So main deck Malice monster or extra deck Malice monster. So yeah, it basically summons one of these guys, but they can't activate their effects, so you would have to probably banish them first to be able to then trigger them to resummon them later. So yeah, basically 2.1k beater and monster negate, and that's all you're left with. And why does this matter? Well, this just proves that their going second ability is just turbo ass. And here's a way we could easily just beat Malice. So we have a set Solemn Judgment, and then we just pass on like a boss monster that's bigger than 2.1k. That does like maybe something, or even a whole lot of nothing. Like, I don't know, Full Armor Master. Sure. So if my board like that, this isn't even like necessarily the Blackwing board, right? But if we have Blackwing Full Armor Master here with a Solemn Judgment and like, I don't know, Sharnga in the graveyard, how do you beat this? So you can't beat over this at all. And the only threat I think we're feeling is if you were to go ahead and activate White Binder effect to try to attempt to banish the Sharnga, I guess. But yeah, we could also Solemn it. So that's something. If you try to banish my cards, there's nothing else that will work here to banish like a full armor master. And then we can just also technically pop your normal summon, and that would be enough to just win, right? So for example, if we have normal summon Dormouse before Dormouse effect activates, we can just destroy Dormouse, and that could be sufficient. We have the ability to destroy White Rabbit before there is a trap set, so it has nothing to banish to activate all possible options against one cards, right? Then if you have a 2 card, I don't necessarily have to do anything until you like go into your extra deck monsters. In which case, if I have some way to deal with the extra deck monsters, so that could be a Solemn Judgment, that could be a monster negate destroy, like we'll say Crystal Wing here, right? And yeah, just basically a bajillion different monsters will and setups will just be able to completely cook Maliss going first, right? But okay, now here's the annoying part about Maliss. Maliss is just ridiculously hand trap resistant. And what's even more annoying is that the hand traps that you would need to play for Maliss, they're just terrible against uh, just a lot of other decks. So the format just sucks ass, basically. So let's say Ghost Bell. Ghost Bell was already niche, so let's just go, like, there's no need to go over how Bell works versus this deck. You're basically just belling on Marshare or Malison Underground, right? That's about it. Okay, but how about against Snake Eye? Woo, Snake Eye. Scary, right? Okay, let's see. So the biggest point we could really try to hit is Flambridge Dragon effect to Reborn. But guess what? You can chain block this. So we can go like chain 1 Flambridge, chain 2 Poplar. It is just the thing you can do. So yeah, if you're playing against Bell, or playing around the Bell, Bell is literally impossible to resolve against this deck. Epic. Alright, let's move on. Fiendsmith. So if we go track for Lurie, you can negate Lurie. That's literally the only usage you really have for the Bell, I would say. Aside from that, you don't even have to resolve Fiendsmith sequence. This is literally an optional effect in order to get into just whatever rank 6 you want, honestly. So you have the idea of, let's say we make Moon, then we make Requiem, right? We special summon Lacrima. Lacrima sends Engraver. Try to shuffle back Moon. So in this case, if you bell the Engraver, then we have the idea of just going directly into sequence off of one more monster. So any normal summon or special summonable monster in your hand would do the trick to allow you to then go sequence, go Lacrima, special summon Engraver, and then boom, you have the rank 6 you were going to go into anyways, right? So that doesn't work. So if we were to negate sequence, if you were to negate sequence, then we have the idea of also just special summoning Engraver and then making Apollosa, or we could go like instead we can, well, it depends on exactly what we have, but there's also the idea of special summon Engraver, effect of Tract to then make Lacrima, then to Reborn Engraver. And while we're here, there's also the idea to make Necroquip with one of the monsters to then go into a rank 6, which is very doable. But even if you do get a good Bell off somehow, except for like, I guess it would be exactly the Bell on Lurie, which may or may not stop the combo depending on your opponent's exact hand. Your opponent still has a lot of guys on field to do whatever they want with. To do like link summoning or synchro plays or whatever. What have you, right? So it's still not great. I would rate this like a solid 4 or 3 out of 10 hand trap versus Fiendsmith. Yeah, there you go. Very, very insightful here. Because, you know, if you allow bodies, then that's bodies to link summon into Apple later, right? So if we wait all the way till sequence, that would allow our opponent to have 2 link materials, and they would only need 2 more to make Appaloosa. Just for example, right? So, continuing on. Not only is this hand trap issue a thing, well, you know, that it's not an issue with just spell, it's basically every single hand trap you would want to actually play against Maliss. Well, it's, yeah, not in the exact same way, but for example with Bestials, okay, but what if my opponent's on like Fire King? Okay, I have nothing to banish anymore, so my Bestials are now worthless. Okay, so what if I'm playing Lancia? My opponent is once again on Fire King, or maybe they're on Fiendsmith, or Ryzeal, or any of those decks. Now, those cards are all useless. So, if my opponent is on Maliss as well, the main issue here is that I have to go second against Maliss sometimes, and, you know, they're super hand trap resistant, and the most generic way to deal with just every single combo deck ever basically is just to run hand traps, which just don't work well against this deck unless you like tech specific hand traps against them. But if you tech specific hand traps into them, then you'll get screwed by every other deck. Just, yeah. Miserable time, all things considered. If I were to rate this experience, I would say it's a solid 4 out of 10. I've had worse. Well, I played worse formats than this one in Master Duel, but still, on the lower end of things, I would say. Just not really great. Playing against Ryzeal also sucks because in the same way, right? Ryzeal, you would want specific outs to Ryzeal if possible, like you want to troll Ryzeal perhaps, right? But then Maliss, they search 1 time total. What exactly does troll do? Actually nothing. It doesn't actually stop a search at all. So I mean, that's not entirely true, I guess, because you and Malice in the Underground banish Malice in the Mirror to then banish your copy of Red Ransom. So you'd be able to search with Malice in the Mirror. You're stopping this if your opponent was going for that in the first place, which they won't necessarily. So yeah, I mean, if you highly value this for some reason, I guess the droll does quote unquote something, but they still end on like essentially full combo. It's just this affects their follow up, I believe, a little bit, which I don't think matters because they still have follow up. It's just not like guaranteed follow up because on resolution of Malice in the Mirror, you would have follow up with an added like March Hare or Dormouse for a later turn, whereas you would have to like banish these cards with White Binder. So if you could stop White Binder from being special summoned the next turn, then it might matter, kind of ish, sorta. So yeah. Malice. I would rate this deck probably like a solid 7-ish out of 10. Like around there probably. But the main issue is its going second ability is just like turbo garbage because your engine is not so great for going second basically, right? And in those regards, like Ryzeal would be better in going second versus this steaming pile of trash, kinda. But yeah, it's basically got the issue of stun where if you win going well, if you win the coin flip, you're going first, and you'll probably win because that's what your deck was designed to do. It's similar to like how you're running. Some people would be running like nearly 60 engine cards in those 60 card pile decks, and just playing only for going first, and they will just take the loss going second. This is basically the same concept as that, I would say. So not really happy about that, like, at all. But that's kind of how Malice operates, you know. It's not too far from actual stun, like, you know, Fossil Dino, where, you know, your game plan is going to be doing whatever your engine is, you know. In this case, it'd be like normal summon Fossil Dino, pass. It's kind of like do your combo pass, you probably win because you can't hand trap this, and you win, I guess, right? Well, it's not one for one because they're not like floodgating you, but you know, same concept, kinda. You go first, you win game. You go second, your opponent has stuff set up, then your setup is completely worthless. That's kind of how it is. And Ryzeal has X'd at least, which will help for going second. Meanwhile, here, none of these cards do anything, so. Yeah. This right now, coupled with like Malice's really high win rate, it just really feels like you're just playing Coin Flip Simulator, much like you would be with Stun. Where I go first, I win. I go second, I lose. Simple as that. Unless you were to consider teching just, you know, anti-Malice cards. In which case now you'll still lose going second because now if you matchmake into non-Malice, you'll still lose. Because you've actually dead useless cards in your deck / hand because you opened these cards, and you do want to play like several of these cards technically because you can't really run these as one-offs. So all things considered, just a miserable time. Like, we hit Runic Stun pretty fast, didn't we? But this is okay, I guess. We hit Blue Eyes, but this is okay. What is up with that? So, yeah, that's about all I got for you guys today. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.